Oh, you're not plugged into something.
Uh, we are on plugged into something? Or? No.
Oh, we are live. Oh, hello. Welcome. Welcome to the DevNexus conference. And we do a little session about JDK 20 launch, which was 3 weeks ago. My name is Gerrit Grunwald. I'm working for Azure System as a developer advocate, and I have two beautiful people with me, Cindy and Ken. And
You're half right.
so maybe you introduce yourself, and then
I'm Cindy. Hi, I'm with the a development organization. We're working on Open Liberty, and I work on migration tools, including for Java and Java SE.
My name's Ken Cousin. I'm a one-person company. It's Cousin IT Incorporated, although my wife calls it Cousin It. I've written several books in the Java space. I teach training classes. I give presentations. And I wander around like this and get pulled into panels occasionally.
Yeah, that's
5 minutes before it starts.
Surprise, you know.
Yeah, we are here today to talk about JDK 20. We are so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's not the biggest release. I think we can all agree on that,
Right.
because it comes with not that super new features. It's a lot of stuff that was already in 19 and even started in 18 and earlier, and now we got another iteration of that. So maybe we should talk about some of these things. And what do you think about it? So where should we start?
Would you like to go first, or you
Well,
want me to do
you
it?
know what? Of course, I'm going to plug what I know, and that's Open Liberty. And as an application server, we just released on Tuesday,
Mhm.
GA'd. We've been beta for Java 20 for the last month, the last iteration, but yeah, just GA'd this week. But it was fairly easy to move over. I think they said like over only 4 issues, over millions of lines of code
Yeah, I heard
to
that.
move up to Java 20. So
Yeah, I heard the
it's
same from someone else who
Yeah.
told me that they moved to JDK 20 and it was just 2 or 3 things they had to change to make
Yeah,
it work. So
very simple.
that shows that it was not really something big bang, right?
Right.
I mean, you probably know more about that because
No, I'm agreeing with you. I mean, not Big Bang. It's kind of an understatement. That if you look at the JEPs that were
Yeah.
approved for Java 20, everything is either an incubator or a preview feature. Now, I have nothing against preview features. I downloaded, installed it. I waited for IntelliJ to update so I can use it in IntelliJ. I compiled my own code with it. But if you're not going to use preview features or incubator features, there's nothing there. I mean, there's
yeah, yeah.
Now, again, if you're a company that only upgrades to LTS versions, I know there's a lot of objections to that, but that's a fact of life in many cases. Then what everybody's really focused on is 21 coming out in
Right.
September.
Totally agree. Yeah.
But the big feature, of course, in 20, the one that is getting most of the press, is the virtual threads.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
That's now in Kotlin, because I've got some background in Kotlin and Ruby. In Kotlin, we've had coroutines for several years, and while coroutines are very, very helpful, the other part that goes with the coroutines is what they call structured concurrency, so that you could manage a series of coroutines together. Like if one throws an exception, you could cancel all the rest.
Right.
Well, the virtual threads are a preview feature, but from what I understand, they are scheduled to be released as part of 21.
Yeah, that's what I heard. It should.
Thank goodness.
This will be
Otherwise, it'll
big.
be
Yeah.
another 2 years. Right?
Yeah.
But structured concurrency is just an incubator.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it will come with virtual threads.
No.
Oh, unfortunately
they made a whole
not.
separate JEP on that. And it's just an
okay.
incubator too. So it's going to be, well, it's not going to be 21. It's going to
Okay.
be later. And we'll see how these things work together. So that's exciting, but early. The other one that is getting a lot of press from the code side, I don't know the underlying memory issues and things like that as much, so I don't or the garbage collectors.
Yeah, yeah.
I focus more on things that affect the code. Record patterns
Oh yeah.
is another
one.
mechanism to do what
Yeah.
they call in Kotlin destructuring. It's a way of
Yeah.
pulling out individual
Yeah, and
pieces.
Java's getting there, right? Especially with the
Right.
destructuring. And I think they are the first in this incubator. There is the first version where you can do that. Really, in the switch case, you can destructure a record,
Exactly.
which is
but it's a preview, but
Yeah.
it is there.
Yeah, it's
Right.
there, and it looks good. So it feels different because I never saw this code before. Working,
yeah.
like, oh wow, this is an interesting approach on coding now.
I mean, I've been waiting for pattern matching for Switch to be final.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Has
It's
that not been final?
fourth preview.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize.
I hope it
that.
will make it to 21.
I mean, and the reason I want it so badly is that they added sealed classes
Right.
in
17?
16. I think
16,
that's
yeah,
17.
yeah.
But either way,
Yeah.
and the problem is I want to do a pattern matching with Switch so that I only look at the
Yeah.
the permitted classes in the
Right.
sealed one.
Right.
But you still can't do that
But you
unless you
can't.
enable preview.
Yeah,
Enable
exactly. Yeah,
preview
yeah.
you can.
Because I played around with that and I really like that one. If you have sealed interfaces and classes, and then you can really destructure them in the switch case stuff. This is great.
It's the old, I mean, dare I say the old tri-monad.
Yeah,
You've got a success or a failure, and I know it's either a success or a failure. It's a perfect sealed class or
Yeah,
sealed
yeah.
interface maybe,
Yeah.
and you can only do that in Java with the enable
Yeah, yeah.
preview. So I'm really hoping that's final in 21.
Oh yes, I hope so too. Because I saw the code, and just for the fun of it, I started with doing switch case the old way, and then with all this stuff, and then wrote the same method, just did the different approaches over time, and the code looks so much better in the end.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really
Things
good
are
readable. It's really nice.
And
Yeah.
then IntelliJ says, I want to switch that to the new feature. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Right.
It's
exactly.
making a switch expression now.
Yeah, yeah.
Returns the value. It's great.
Yeah, but it comes with some caveats because it's for me the first thing was, oh, I don't need a brake. I was so used to use brake everywhere, but now,
Right.
yeah,
You
now
don't fall through anymore.
now-
But you can separate your cases by comments.
yeah, and yeah, this is nice. I
And
mean,
then of course they have they used to use an ampersand for the qualifier.
right.
And now I think they've switched it to where
Uh,
or when or whatever they
yeah,
used to
when,
keyword.
where I think
Where,
this one,
yeah.
yeah.
So-
That felt a bit weird to me when I wrote it. It's like, oh, okay, it makes sense, but then you have to be aware that you have to do this where thing before the other one, because otherwise it won't be catched, right? So
and also you have to play around with where you put the null.
yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
why we're still
Right.
a preview after
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these versions.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Still
good that
something.
we have this preview stuff. So what do you think about it? So, I mean, we changed from this huge Big Bang releases like JDK 8 and then come JDK 9, and suddenly we have now this from 10, 11, 12, we only have features like 17, 5, 6, 7 features per release. So do you like it or is
Well,
it?
it is nice. I mean, the thing of it is, going with these smaller releases, you can at least test and make sure nothing's broken your code as you're moving up. We work tools to help migrate Java
Right.
SE versions.
Yeah.
So guess what? We can't use the latest because
Yeah.
running older environments.
Right.
So we're not able to use some of these great new features, but we do keep testing
Yeah,
in the
sure.
latest
Yeah.
so that we know that we're compatible with as we move up. And that's nice about, even if we're not always running in the latest, but we do test and make sure
Yeah.
we're
I think
we're not.
the biggest problem was
broken.
going from 8 to 11.
That was.
It took a lot of effort for the companies
Well,
to
and
do
they
that
removed
switch.
the
They
XML binding module.
Yeah. Oh yes,
So
yes,
many.
they did.
All
Oh,
the EE related technologies that had to be brought into the application server.
Through the build file now, yeah.
Yeah, well, not
Oh, and in
well,
the server as
it
well,
did
right?
bring
Yeah.
it into the server ourselves
sorry,
and brought those packages into the server itself so that you get those, when you're applying the technology that they related to.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's like each of those releases from like 12 through 16 was small, but cumulatively going from
Yeah.
11 to 17, suddenly you've got pattern
Oh, yeah.
matching,
Oh,
you have
yeah.
switch
It's a lot of
statements, you
stuff
have field
in there, yeah.
classes, you have records, you have all these things that cumulative really change the way you
So it might
That's
still
right.
be for companies hard to switch from 11 to 17 or directly to 21 because suddenly you have all this new stuff in there. So it's
except everything compiles. The backward compatibility, you're
that's-
right, the
yeah.
jump from 8 to 11 was an issue, but from
Yeah.
11 to 17, you just
that's
flip
easy.
the
Yeah,
switch.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
We should remember in 20 they took away compiling to Java 7, right? You can't create. I think
remember that.
I think at that point you can't create Java 7 compatible classes anymore. So
I'm
that's
okay
one
with
thing.
that.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
When
I
was it
know.
again? JDK
I
7.
know. But it's like
It's still-
they're still out
Yeah.
there.
You say the word web sphere?
Oh, I got it.
No, I have some friends who work in companies that still have to fight that battle.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. My delay usually with adopting a new JDK version is wait for IntelliJ to update, which takes usually about a week,
Yeah.
and wait for Gradle
Oh, that
Get
that takes long.
which takes sometimes as much as a month.
Yeah.
But usually it's within a couple
Yeah,
of weeks.
yeah, that's
so,
true.
So the next version of Gradle will have JDK 20 support.
Which is great. Yeah.
But in this version, I mean, I've compiled everything with it, and you know, no
just
changes
easy,
as long
yeah.
as. I mean, you get a couple extra deprecation warnings, which
Right.
is easy enough to fix.
Mm.
Right, right, right.
Did someone of you ever played around with the Panama stuff?
I am not.
That's the
Foreign
under the
function
hood
and
stuff.
memory APIs?
Yeah,
or-
that's the. I wish I knew that stuff better, but I'm mostly I teach training classes and talk about the APIs. We don't actually focus on the detailed performance
Yeah.
issues. Other than, of course, what's hot in the Spring world is using the GRAW VM.
Oh yeah.
Now that's supposedly going to be part of the Open JDK project.
Yeah.
Some of that GRAW support,
Right.
but again, I'm thinking there'll be something in 21. There's nothing in 20. That I
No,
remember
in
about
20,
that.
no.
But you're the Panama stuff. You done anything with that?
I was playing around with it a little bit, and I tried JNI way back.
Oh yeah.
Totally failed, and thought, no, this is not for me.
I went to put a swing user interface
Yeah.
on a Fortran program,
Oh,
and all I can say is
Say
it worked
why?
on my machine.
yeah, that's the
It
developer
never
thing,
worked
right?
again.
Worked
That
here.
was my experience with
yeah.
JNI, you know.
Yeah, so same for me. So I played around with it last year, and it's interesting, and it should be at least the same performance. I think it's even faster than the JNI stuff.
Oh,
But
but GRAW is made for that.
yeah, so it feels strange to do that in Java. You can directly access the native interfaces, and it works well. It's much better than before because they also created a tool. I don't remember the name of the tool, but you can directly create these classes automatically now. So which you don't have to write them on your own, which helps a lot. And then you can directly code against these new classes, which is much easier. But yeah, you need a use case, right? For me, it was just playing around to figure out you can use native stuff. Suddenly, you can use some OpenGL libraries, and it works. But I don't have a use case for that. Probably there is a use case because otherwise it wouldn't make sense to do that. But
Just like there've been huge improvements in the garbage collectors.
oh yeah,
I mean, you probably deal with that a lot more than I do working with the server.
Yeah. I don't get down to that level.
Yeah.
But I'm more with the APIs too,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're helping
Here, I was
understand the
hoping
changes.
you'd cover
Yeah, I can't help there because we're helping manage changes within the APIs and how that affects applications moving forward. So
yeah.
What do you think about the 2-year cycle on LTS support? Which again, I mean, Brian Getz has gone out of his way to say that's an Oracle thing. That's not the industry.
Yeah.
That's just a support contract.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
everybody has to go LTS.
But
It doesn't matter what
still-
Azul does or what.
Right.
It is the way it is, right? So
It's reality,
yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah, you can't just say it's
But do you
only
like
Oracle.
2 years rather than 3? What do you think?
I like 2 years to be honest, but this is a personal thing. For companies, you more or less force them to do the switch earlier, right? So which is for companies sometimes really hard because it means why do we have to do that? We have to test it, we have to make sure it works, which is a lot of money you have to spend just to make it work, just to get your support. And from that point of view, it's debatable if it's. I like it.
What do you
But-
think?
And you said you like 2 versus 3? Or
yes,
3?
yeah, I like 2 more than
Beating
3.
up
I mean,
Yeah.
because we're staying on the latest and developing to the latest and moving forward. You hate to see those breaks, those hard
Yeah,
breaks.
yeah.
But and you know, so
I-
fewer breaks, but it seems like there's been more and more, more assertive deprecation for removal,
Mhm.
right? And trying to clean up, and that's kind of honorable too. But it is breaking.
I think, yeah, and I think also if you take a look at it from the security point of view,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
if you just implement features like 7, 5, 6, something like that, and we have these 4 releases per year, the updates, then it's maybe more safe to just update more often to the
Right.
latest release and make sure everything's good instead of waiting 3 years, piling up all these features, and then suddenly, bam, you
Right.
get out with this new stuff, and then we are maybe there where we have been with the older releases, right?
You also bring up the notion of having to have a use case. And the big one that seems to be the big event, at least in my little world, seems to be the fact that Spring 6 and Spring Boot 3
Mhm.
is the first major API I know in the open source world that requires Java 17.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's going to
Right.
make a lot of companies
Oh,
either
yeah.
jump or abandon Spring, and I don't see them abandoning Spring. They may just stick with the 2 versions, but that may provide the incentive to get the industry to move to 17, or a big part. The question is, what'll get them to move to 21?
Yeah, that's the next big thing, right?
Yeah, well, that's the big one. It's got to be the
Well,
virtual
it's going to
threads.
be
Oh, yeah.
virtual.
Oh,
threads.
yes.
It sounds like that's going to
Except
be.
what, again, my experience with the related technology in the Kotlin world is that people learned how to work with coroutines, but just because the code's easy to write doesn't mean asynchronous coding is easy.
Yeah,
So what
that's a good
people
point.
waited for is that the library developers, like the Room database model,
Yeah.
the object
To
relational
pick
model,
it up and
has it in under the
Yeah,
hood,
yeah.
and Retrofit is a library to do networking, has it under the hood. So I suspect that ultimately virtual threads is going to be an enabling technology for libraries and servers,
Right.
things like that. But we'll see. I mean, everybody's going to start spawning their own virtual thread pools for a while.
That, yeah, it'll be interesting.
what do you think about, because I heard this, it's not a rumor, but people say virtual threads can replace the whole reactive thing. So will it do that or not?
Well, there's always certain use cases that work better in reactive. I mean, if what asynchronous buys you is an immediate return. The analogy I always use is you go to lunch, you go to a fast food restaurant, you put in your order, and the order gets sent to the kitchen. And if it's perfectly synchronous, both you and the cashier just stand there, waiting for your order to be filled. But no, they give you a receipt with a number on it, and now it's all asynchronous. And you can go get your soda, you can go get your napkins at the table, and the cashier can handle everybody else behind you. Well, that use case is not going to be changed by virtual threads.
No.
I mean, just because it's cheap to make a thread, you're still going to want something asynchronous there.
Yep.
And reactive is a natural model. Although, again, if you could spawn a separate thread for every one of those, it's still going to be good. But the fact that it takes much longer to do the lunch preparation in the kitchen than it does at the I/O layer. Yeah, okay, good. You're not blocking the I/O layer. That's reactive.
Yeah.
But virtual threads, anything that responds quickly, you could just spawn a thread and you're there.
Yeah, so it will be interesting to see how this will compete with each other, or how people will pick it up if it.
Right.
Yeah, in the Android world specifically, and I'll stop. But in the Android world, what happened when they introduced coroutines in Kotlin, within like 3 to 6 months, all the RX Android stuff seemed to vanish. People just stop using reactive. And in Android, you have a user interface, and therefore you can't block the UI thread when you're doing anything in networking. So everybody had been doing reactive stuff to get off the user interface thread. Now everything is coroutines. Now Spring, of course, has support for Kotlin and coroutines, and yet people still do Webflux.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's what we'll
I think this is the way you should use it, right? They tell you should use Webflux. That's more or less what I see when
if you have the use case.
Yeah,
now when threads come out.
Yeah, we will see. It will be interesting. So do you see benefits on your side for virtual threads?
Oh, we do a lot with our thread pools and our self-tuning
Yeah.
pools, and
it's going to go away, or they just going to become virtual.
I don't know. We'll see how that plays out, but it's we're certainly heavy into the use.
Yeah. So how do you think about will it be how they implemented the API for the virtual threads? Did you take a look at that? Because it's really, I saw it and it really feels natural.
It's an executor service, just do virtual thread pool.
Yeah.
And then just pull a thread out of it the way you would on a regular thread pool.
Yes, exactly.
The only difference is it's not blocking any threads.
And I really like that. So that it's really easy to do that. So that means changing existing code it's easy. And I think this is a really good sign that they don't invented something totally new, and you have to dig through the whole thing and change everything because it works in the scheme,
But again, we're focused on something that'll be released in 21.
Yeah, that's true.
In 20, everything's a preview. Or
yeah, that's true.
And that's good if you want to affect the possible changes in the future. And that may be true of many developers, but companies are going to wait.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
It will probably take some releases until they really pick it up.
But there shouldn't be a lot of change between now and 21. I mean, usually towards those later short-term releases, they're about settling things down and getting it tied up and ready to go.
And I mean, it's September, right?
Yeah,
it's September. It's not really far away.
Hopefully, they're not changing a lot.
Well, I looked at the the JEP list for 21, and there was only two things in there right now. One was the virtual threads, and the other was the new collections mechanism where you got the first and last sequence.
Yeah.
I think where you could get first and get last. Again, not a huge change, but an interesting one.
Is there also the string template thing?
String templates might have been added yet. I know they're talking about that.
Yeah.
I don't like the look of it. I mean, its syntax is really ugly. Capital STR dot and then and then wildcard. You know, and I know there's reasons in the spec of why you can't just go $ curly braces like everybody else does.
Right.
But you can't. You got to use this weird looking thing. And
there's one other thing I found in JDK 20, which is maybe not known that much, is that you can have named groups in regex.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw that. It's interesting. So because if you have a regex and the longer it gets, you can this grouping with the braces.
Right? Now you have two.
Now you can do this. Sorry, but I don't know the smaller than greater than signs. I don't know if there's another word. You put a name before the group.
Brackets.
And you put the name in there, like just names or dates or something, and then later on in the matcher you can just match by string.
So it's the same syntax they use for generics. With the angle brackets, than less than.
Yeah, right. But what I don't really like about that is if you write it in the regex, then it's part of the string, right, of the pattern, and then it doesn't have some quotes or something around it, so you can't put a variable in there. So it's part of the string. Later on, when you do the matcher, it is a string. So it means you can't take a variable for the names. It's you have to keep that somewhere.
Oh, okay.
But because I use a lot of regex for some stuff.
My condolences.
I really like that. No, I like. I'm honest. I really like regex.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Were you a Perl programmer at what part of your career or something?
Still.
People love.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's. I read something like with the regex you can solve everything.
Yeah.
So.
I call that electronic anthropology. It's when you can look at the code and figure out something about the developer.
Yeah, that's true.
And with that.
Yeah, so that was something that I found.
I downloaded, I installed it, I ran things on it. I don't know that I'm actually going to use it, just like there was basically nothing in 19 either. I mean, you have your server that you could run now. I think that was 18 actually.
Yes.
And
nothing really new, right?
No,
so it's an improvement over the last time.
Right,
and
18, 19 were pretty quiet. 20 is extremely quiet.
Yeah.
And then 22, like, blah, blah, blah.
21 a big.
Well,
but no, maybe not.
You don't want it to have too much more. That you want this to be a growth thing, and then all the new stuff. I mean, whatever's been waiting, to come in behind. That's what I would expect. But,
You're probably right.
Yeah.
And are the string templates in that too? Well, we'll see.
I don't know. I just saw that I think it's JEP 430. So, and I had once when I do code generation, then string templates are quite nice.
You remember the JEP numbers? I'm
That's.
But that mainly, that's the only use case I know. It's generating code. It makes sense. I never had another use case than that.
So when we do this again a year from now, Dev, we'll be up to 21.
Yeah.
No, 22. We'll go through March.
Oh yeah, right.
22.
Right.
And assuming that
will be a different story.
Yeah, it'll be a completely different language by then.
Yeah. But how do you like the improvement of Java over the time? You like it?
I've been surprised at what a remarkably good steward Oracle has been.
Yeah.
And because I was very skeptical, I was very worried about Oracle. And they have basically kept hands off and let the people who were there, the architects like Brian Getz and Mark Reinhold and everything, they've done an excellent job. I've been very happy with the growth and the features have been added and the way everything works.
It still
really
can keep up with other languages, right?
It's closing the gap.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. You see these new languages coming up with new features, and then suddenly a year later, oh, you can do that in Java too. Nice. It's I like that too. And when I take a look at old code, and I compare it, like you said, you open it in IntelliJ and say, oh, you can replace that. You can, and suddenly it's like, oh, that looks really good. But also, and at that time we thought it's great. So future will tell what we will get.
And then when GPT-4 is generated,
oh yes,
and it's all old, and you import it because they're only up to a year and a half ago.
Right.
We do it so much better now.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else big in JDK 20. I just,
think so.
it's Panama, it's, what is the other one? Loom, and then there's the third one, the project, forgot the name.
Valhalla was something else.
Valhalla is, this is the, oh no, Valhalla? No. What is the name of it?
Amber is also
Amber,
another one.
that's
Amber,
it. Amber
right.
is the one. Yeah, Amber is that's the one with the whole
Everybody
data.
watching the YouTube's going like, it's right here. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard some interesting. I listened to a podcast recently and about the strategy that it should be all more data driven. But this is the Project Amber thing. I think it's more to address data like you address code thing.
And the move to, I don't think that's Amber. The one you said is Amber. The one I was thinking of was the one that's improving the startup time of JDK.
Oh, this is Layden, right? Project Layden.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, the other one, was it an Amber or whatever that streamlined the main method or something to make it really easy for beginners
Oh,
to get
yeah, I
started?
don't, yeah.
What they call that, paving the on-ramp.
Yeah.
Make it easier for people to get
Yeah.
started with that.
Yeah.
I don't know which Jeff that's going to be part
I
of,
have
or
no
which
idea.
version that's going to be part of.
For
That's
me,
the
that
other
was
thing.
really
Yeah, no
never a big deal. So I thought, okay, who really
Well,
needs
you're
that?
already
But
past that hurdle. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
but I think if you're in education, then that might help a lot. Because
Maybe,
if
I
you
don't know.
compare it to others, yeah, I also can't really.
Right. In
Talk
Groovy,
about
the
it.
Hello World program is Frontline Hello World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Kotlin.
The question is if this is really, if this is the hurdle to get into Java. I'm not sure. So maybe, but maybe there are other things that are more complex than that, right?
But at any rate, you were just, I think those are the other projects, those are the other
Yeah,
things I've
yeah.
heard of that are associated with the changes in the JDK.
So what is your favorite of all the new features that came to Java?
I like records. I mean, I
was
think
gonna
they're,
say, that's when if I could use it, if I could.
Oh, so sorry.
That is the one I would use the
Yeah,
most.
and I'm
you know?
totally with you. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
really,
the
really
thing about records, the only issue that comes up with it for me is that you can't use JPA, Jakarta Persistence
Right.
API,
Yeah.
with records because they're immutable and they
Right.
don't have default constructors.
Right.
You can use it for views, right? You can
Yeah,
use it
right.
back to DTO, but I mean, the whole
Right.
point of object relational maps is you don't have to do that.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah.
So that's but for JSON parsing,
Oh,
man, they
yeah.
are born to be.
This.
I just wish I could put a bunch of public records in a single file rather than have to put them in individual classes because they're tiny, like
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 lines
Yeah.
of code.
It's
And I
really.
put them all in one file, but
Mm.
that they still have not relaxed that
Okay.
requirement.
Yeah, but it's I totally agree. Records. When I saw it the first time, I was like, oh my god, that
Finally,
saves
didn't
so
you
much
feel
code.
that
Yeah,
finally?
really.
You
And the
know?
Jackson parser understands them. That was the first one, I think.
I guess so. Yeah.
And the most recent one that I've noticed is JSON finally understands how to
Oh.
parse to records.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't know
That
that.
was like
Oh,
1.10.1 or something.
Oh, this-
Finally
I have to
yeah,
try
we got
that.
it.
Oh,
It's
this is-
within the last 6 months.
coming in.
Oh.
Maybe the last 3 months.
Oh,
They
this is
finally
good.
made it. Mochi was the other one I played with because again that came from the Kotlin world, and
Hmm.
that was in the middle. That eventually got it.
yeah.
But now JSON, which a lot of people use.
Yeah, I use it in the project, so this is good to know.
Right.
Because, that helps so much. And then you have to handle data. Records is the way to go.
Right.
It's so easy, right? All these DTOs that you have to write, it's just one line. Oh, there you go.
And now you've got a built-in HTTP client. The one thing you don't have, and apparently they've decided you'll never have, is a built-in JSON parser. We're talking about
Yeah,
third-party libraries.
yeah.
I think they learned their lesson with the XML.
Probably. No, don't go that
We
road.
just got rid of them, so we're not.
But I'm not on the team. That's just guess.
Yeah.
We all
We
we in
good?
good shape?
I think so. So I think we covered
joining me
everything
today.
what we have. So thanks for attending our little session about JDK 20, and I hope you tune in next time. So that's it. Bye bye. Thanks
Good
for
luck.
attending.
Thanks, Garrett.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.